A little while ago, I used Ludicolo to beat Pokemon Emerald, so today it's time for Shiftry. While I don't like Ludicolo's aesthetic, the sort of cheerful sombrero duck did win me over to some extent, but Shiftry, this thing has an even larger mountain to climb. I absolutely hate its aesthetic. What I find in these playthroughs is that after going through so much with a Pokemon, I usually end up liking it a little bit more at least. With the notable exception of Seal, that playthrough made me like it so much less. So today I'm hoping that I'm going to fall in love with another Pokemon from Generation 3 that I never really liked. I think it's fitting that I'm using this Pokemon in October, which is basically Halloween month, because its design is so terrifying. Honestly, there's nothing like this in Generation 1, or really in the generations that follow Generation 3. When I first saw it playing Ruby as a kid, I remember being so confused. Like, what's going on here? It's got this huge nose and strange white hair, which is also sort of its beard, but also kind of a tail too. It also is sort of its, I guess it's like its eyebrows or like a face mask, I guess. And then it has these teeth. And that suggests to me that this is its chin. Yes, its chin is its crotch. And then look at these arms. They don't look like they're particularly good for having a quality of life. Like, how would you use like a keyboard with those things? They don't even have like elbows. Anyways, because of how strange this thing is, I figured that it must be based on something with roots in human mythology. Doing a quick search on Bulbapedia, it appears that it's based on a mature oak tree and a Tengu, which is a Japanese yokai with a long nose that uses its supernatural powers to protect forests and play cruel tricks on people. Fitting because Shiftry is a grass dark type, which is quite unfortunate for it because it gives it a total of 7 weaknesses. Yes, 7. It has a weakness to fighting, flying, poison, bug, fire, ice, and fairy. At least we won't have to deal with the last one today. All of these are single weaknesses with the exception of bug, which is a double weakness. But there aren't really any prominent bug trainers in Hoenn or bug types in Hoenn, so I'm not going to have to worry there as much for this playthrough. This typing isn't all bad though, because it also has 6 resistances: ground, ghost, water, grass, electric, and dark. So at least it's going to resist Watson, Juan, Sydney, and Phoebe. Now, in Generation 3, before the physical special split, grass and dark moves deal special damage, which is very unfortunate for Shiftry because of how its base stats are distributed. It has 90 HP, 80 speed, 100 attack, 90 special attack, and 60 in both of its defenses. It's frustrating that it's mostly a physical attacker, while the types it has are both special types. So that's some lack of synergy. At least 90 special attack is still quite respectable. For my playthroughs, I'm looking to see how fast the Pokemon can beat the game with my rules, and so I allow myself to manipulate my starter to change its natures, ability, DV, and hidden power typing. For Shiftry, I decided on a lonely nature to boost its attack and lower its defense. Also, this nature is so fitting for Shiftry. Look at it. It doesn't have any friends. Because natures modify stats with a percentage, I think it's smart to boost its highest stat and lower one of its lowest. I don't think I'll need any more speed today because Watson's badge gives me a 10% boost, and I also have access to EVs while the NPCs do not. For abilities, Shiftry has access to 2. Chlorophyll, which boosts your speed when in harsh sunlight, or Early Bird, which wakes you up earlier from sleep. I figured that Early Bird was the better choice because sleep is really annoying, and also, I'm gonna outspeed pretty much everything. Before starting the challenge, Leary, my editor, and I discussed the type of hidden power that would be best. We settled on either hidden power rock to cover Shiftry's weaknesses to flying, bug, fire, and ice types, or hidden power ice to help with fights like Drake and Steven. It also helps against Winona, so that is nice. Because Steven is such a threat, I ended up deciding on hidden power ice, plus it seems to be the best default choice if you don't know what to do. I do think it's worth noting that there was one other close contender, which is hidden power fire. If you examine Shiftry's move pool, it has access to Sunny Day and Solar Beam, which would pair really well with hidden power fire, especially against Steven. But in the end, we decided that it probably would make the rest of the game too difficult, so we went with hidden power ice instead. After all, Shiftry doesn't have much going for it, so we want to give it as much potential as it can throughout all of the game. Now, it's a stone evolution, so through level up, it has access to only its starting moves. Through TM and HM, it gets Bullet Seed, Giga Drain, Return, Dig, Shadow Ball, Brick Break, Rock Tomb, Aerial Ace, Secret Power, and Thief. Yes, Thief is its only damage-dealing dark move. Granted, it does have access to Feint Attack if you level it up from a Nuzleaf first, but today I'm not going to be doing that. Just a quick note on why I'm starting with a fully evolved Pokemon. Honestly, it's a Stone evolution. I kind of like starting with them fully evolved. Also, in Generation 3, I'm just having fun right now. Later on, I'll start as the base forms and evolve as I go throughout the playthrough. Before Rustboro City, I pick up the TM for Bullet Seed because it seems like the developers left this here specifically to give players a useful move against Roxanne. After all, if you didn't choose the Grass Starter, you could have just picked up a Shroomish in the forest and taught it this immediately. Continuing the trend that I've started in Generation 3, I decide to fight all the trainers along my way here, and with them defeated, I'm finally ready to face Roxanne. Geodudes first. I go for Bullet Seed, and it does so much damage, taking Roxanne's lead into red. My second hit knocks it out, and then she sends in her second Geodude. Obviously, it's no different, so I've made it to her Nose Pass with no difficulties. I go for Bullet Seed, it only hits twice, taking Nose Pass to Orange. Yes, this thing has pretty good special defense. But even after an Oranberry, my second Bullet Seed hits 3 times in a row and knocks it out. That was such a fast victory. I chat with the president, defeat Brendan in an easy battle, and then I chop down a tree and grab the Miracle Seed. This is going to pair well with Bullet Seed, because Shiftry needs all the help it can get. After all, Bullet Seed isn't a particularly good move after the early game, and yeah, the next Grass-type move I have access to is Giga Drain, so that's quite far away. On Dewford Island, I catch myself a Magikarp and nickname her Bruno, as is customary in Hoenn. I defeat some trainers and deliver the letter to Steven in Granite Cave. I recently made the mistake of facing Brawley too soon with a Dark type. It doesn't make sense today, so I'm going to head to Slateport and come back here after I've defeated Flannery. I continue to face all the trainers in my way, specifically because I need to prepare for her. Even with all the experience available up until that point in the game, I'm not sure how Shiftry is going to get past her. Like, I have a plan, but I'm really not confident in it. I'm just hoping that all the levels will make it possible. On my way to Mauville City, I face Brendan. Nature Power turns into Swift when you're on regular terrain, and it knocks Wingull out in a single hit. Next is Combusken. Swift makes the most sense against it. It does half, and the chicken strikes back with Ember. It doesn't do very much. And then I knock it out with the second Swift. All that's left is Lombre, and it isn't much of a threat, so I deal with it easily. In the past, I've run into some problems against the trainers east of Mauville City, so today I ensure that I save before I challenge them. With Ludicolo, Shiftry's version exclusive counterpart, I really struggled against Watson, but today he shouldn't be an issue. After all, I resist electric type attacks. He leads with Voltorb, and because it's pretty weak, I decide to set up Growth. Oh great, it looks like my overlay isn't updating and showing the stage modifiers. Here's a brief look behind the curtain at some of the things my software is managing while I'm playing. I fixed the code and reset the battle. By the way, I didn't add this to the reset tracker because I was just fixing the code. Oh, and now we can see the buff to Shiftry's special attack. That's really nice. Voltorb self-destructs on the first turn, and that deals 1/3. But the following Electrike isn't particularly strong, so I can set up against it instead. It sets up 2, spamming Howl over and over. Even after it attacks, it doesn't do much damage, and then I knock it out since my special attack is maxed out. The whole reason I did all this setup is because Bullet Seed is not very effective against Watson's Magneton due to its steel typing. Obviously that's the best defensive type in the game, so I need all the punch I can get. While my first Bullet Seed only hits twice, it actually does almost half to the Magneton, so that's really encouraging. This thing loves to go for Thunder Wave on the first turn, so it uses it here, but my Cherry Berry counters it. My next Bullet Seed hits 3 times, and with that, Magneton goes down. Manectric's all that's left. Shiftry moves first. The first hit from Bullet Seed does just under half, and it manages to hit 2 more times, finishing Watson off. While I was worried about this playthrough after reviewing Shiftry's information, I'm quite surprised how well it's managed the first portion of the game. But Flannery's coming up next, and she's gonna be really tough. I make sure that I fight everyone on the following routes as a result, just to get some extra experience. In that place up north, I stop by the Dig House to grab, well, the TM for Dig. After that, I take a gondola ride hoping to see the hiker, but he isn't here today. Now, it's time for Maxie. A big problem against him is his lead Mightyena has the ability Intimidate. It's really frustrating going up against him with a physical attacker and then having your attack cut before the battle even begins. I try for Dig, but it does underwhelming amounts of damage as a result. Mightyena lowers my accuracy with Sand Attack. and I go for Bullet Seed next because it's special damage. But it doesn't do enough to knock the Dark type out. Maxie heals with the Super Potion, of course. My next Bullet Seed misses, making things worse. Luckily, I knock it out without taking much more damage. Next is Camrupt. I go for Dig against it. While it does no magnitude, which would do double damage underground, it probably knows that that move is not very effective, so it uses Ember, it misses, and my Dig misses too. Thanks so much, Sand Attack. You're really, really annoying. In fact, I end up losing the battle because of it. So I have to face Maxie again. This time I can just avoid the nuisance of Intimidate by boosting my special attack with Growth and relying primarily on Bullet Seed for damage. After just one turn of setup, I'm able to sweep his entire team and earn myself the Meteorite as a reward. Lava Ridge Town is next, and I want to do some shopping here to pick up some repels for the rest of the playthrough. I have a kid teach Shiftry Mimic, and yeah, this kid's gonna have nightmares now. Now it's time for what might be the hardest gym leader. It's time to face Flannery. All my training has raised Shiftry to level 37, so here's my plan for Flannery. As I don't think Shiftry's paper-thin, well we could say like leaf-thin defenses, will allow it to survive an overheat, I'm gonna need some way to minimize damage because Torkoal is definitely not going down in one hit. That thing is really tough. Her Slugma knows Light Screen, so I'm hoping that I can mimic it and then survive one hit from Torkoal. I make it through the Nummel and Camrupt without issues, actually I'm at full health, and then I use Growth to buy some time against Slugma, so it hopefully uses Light Screen. But yeah, it just refuses to do that, so I get poisoned and taken to red as a result. I guess I have to knock it out. Flannery sends Torkoal in, but it doesn't matter because the poison finishes Shiftry off. In the next fight, I make it back to the Slugma. It looks like Dig is reliably able to one-hit her first two Pokemon. Mimic fails because Slugma is slow. After all, it is a slug, and in this game it doesn't work the same way it works in Generation 1. You only mimic the last used move. Once again, instead of trying to use Light Screen, it poisons Shiftry with Smog and then sets up Sunny Day. Alright, I guess I should just like roll for a critical hit against the Torkoal, but I don't get it and it finishes me off. Well, that's not good. Even with the soft sand, Dig is doing just over half. That means even if I leveled up over the next like 3 damage rounding thresholds, I still probably wouldn't get the one hit. I was hoping that eventually she'd use Light Screen. However, after a third fight where she doesn't, I'm starting to believe that she just won't. Maybe the AI algorithm is preventing her from choosing it when I'm using a grass type. Also, the algorithm really likes comments and likes, things like that, so yeah, like ask me about like the root fossil or something. Back to the fight, I go for Dig and I knock Slugma out. I move on to the Torkoal with full health for the first time. I go for Dig, it once again does half. Please let me survive now. If I can survive, then I'll be able to knock it out. But once again, it uses Overheat, does so much, and yep, that's a one hit. If you've been following my series in Emerald, you'll know that with Absol, I tried to defeat Flannery using Double Team, but today, I don't have any tricky tactics like that available to me. I find it interesting that while Sydney Shiftry knows Double Team, it can't actually learn it through level up. Obviously, it's implied that he taught it this move with a TM. I really do wish they had made Double Team a Dark type move, I just think it's so fitting. So let's get back to the fight with Flannery and examine my options here. Rock Tomb has less base power and accuracy when compared to Dig, so it isn't better. I could backtrack to that place up north and grab Return, but it's only neutral against Torkoal, so it won't do more than Dig. I'm sort of at a loss here. Honestly, I think Shiftry is going to have to go out and level up more. And then, Torkoal's Overheat misses in my fourth fight, and my second Dig knocks it out. Okay, so once again a lucky victory in the exact same way that Absol ended up winning. I guess Flannery, that's what you get for using a move that isn't 100% accurate. I head back and grab the TM for Return, and then I backtrack through the desert picking up a rare candy on my way. In Slateport City, I purchased 3 hidden power TMs. Remember, this is an ice type move for my Shiftry, and now it's time to head back to Dewford Town to face Brawley. I really need to remember whenever I'm here the first time to pick up the Silk Scarf. With it, I can boost Return's damage and make quick work of him. I'm really glad that I didn't waste any time here earlier trying to attempt him. Now, with him out of the way, it's time to head back to Petalburg and face Norman. He opens with Spinda, and I use Return to knock it out quickly so that I can avoid Teeter Dance. Oh, it actually survives with a sliver of health? Okay. However, it doesn't use Teeter Dance and instead chooses Facade, which does very little. Norman uses a Hyper Potion, and then my next return rolls better damage and knocks it out. He sends in his ace, Slacking. Having Dig on my moveset essentially allows me to knock this thing out for free, as long as my solo Pokemon can outspeed. On the first turn, since it's going to attack, and it could use something like Counter, I go Underground, and then on the turn that it's loafing around, I hit it and deal damage. This way, it actually can't attack me. It does end up taking a while to knock out because each dig is doing what looks like 1/5. During this battle, I actually thought I might run out of PP, but Norman just doesn't use a potion and Slacking faints, like, what? Anyways, Vigoroth's next. I use Return, taking it to Orange, it strikes back with Slash, Norman heals it with a Hyper Potion, and then I get 2 returns in a row for the knockout. I remember these sort of interactions in fights as a kid, and I always thought it felt so strange that a leader would use a potion if my Pokemon was going to 2-hit in a row anyways. Like, why waste time? So that was an easy Norman battle, but Winona's next, and she has a type advantage over Shiftry, so I'm getting a bit worried. Before that, I have to get through what is the longest route in the game. There's even water here. There's just water everywhere. Look at it, it's on the ground. It's everywhere. I grab an elixir, defeat the Aqua Grunts and the admin in the Weather Institute, and then I finish off Brendan just before Fort Tree City. As a kid, I didn't know that the bed in the Weather Institute heals you. I also didn't know how repels worked, so I always was very bruised by the time I got to this battle. You might wonder why I didn't try to heal my Pokemon in the PC. Well, growing up playing Generation 1, I had learned that depositing Pokemon in the PC does not heal them. As a result of all this, I always remember this fight being extremely frustrating. It felt like such an ambush, but now, during challenges, it's never, well, challenging. So here I am, working my way through the puzzles in Winona's gym, and then, whoops, yeah, bumped into this guy, so I guess I have to fight him. I wonder what Pokemon he has. Oh great, it's a Skarmory. Well, I'm really regretting not teaching Hidden Power Ice at the start of the gym now. I was waiting for the 2 mandatory trainers that are in the next little area, so I guess my best move against this thing is Return. It doubly resists Bullet Seed after all. Look at my overlay. It says that Bullet Seed's power is 4. 4! Return does what looks like 1/5. Skarmory strikes back and doesn't deal much. I try Bullet Seed hoping that perhaps it would do more, but it really doesn't. If a move could do negative damage, that move would be Psywave, but in this case, Bullet Seed feels like it's trying to approximate that. I go back to using Return, and the battle is starting to get closer. Skarmory takes Shiftry to Orange Health, but I end up being able to take it out. So I was lucky there that it didn't use a flying move against me. Does it even know any flying moves? Well, either way, it's time for Winona now. Swablu's first. I need to knock it out right away to avoid Perish Song. Good thing I've got Hidden Power Ice, which gets the job done. Obviously it won't against the Pelipper. Of course, it's going to use Protect first turn. Wait, it doesn't? I think this is the one situation where I would have rather it used Protect. Next, it uses its signature move, of course, and Shiftry hits itself. My next return hits and takes the Pelipper down. Winona follows it with Tropius. Shiftry snaps out of confusion and uses Hidden Power Ice for 4 times damage, knocking the flying grass type out. Altaria is next, but it doesn't stand a chance as Hidden Power is doubly effective against it. Last is Skarmory. A deep hatred is growing in me for this thing. Like even the random NPC with one at the beginning of the gym was a bit scary. I think of all the Pokemon in Generation 1, 2, and 3, this might be the most frustrating one to face. Hidden Power does less than half, and it retaliates with Aerial Ace, doing a similar amount to Shiftry. My next Hidden Power does a lot, but Skarmory still survives and uses Aerial Ace again. Luckily, Shiftry survives, eats its Citrus Berry, healing some health, but the fight isn't over, because Winona uses a Hyper Potion. Okay, well played Winona. That potion made sense, unlike Norman's earlier. I get 2 Hidden Powers in a row, but the damage rolls aren't enough for the knockout, so she strikes back with Aerial Ace. But Shiftry still hangs on. Unfortunately, Winona has another Hyper Potion. She heals Skarmory again, and this time its Aerial Ace finishes me off. Okay, well played. In the next fight, her Pelipper is even more annoying, because I hit myself in confusion more, meaning that I have less health for the following Skarmory. However, I have to actually get to it first. Still, when I do, I'm not able to 2-hit. Unless I set up with Growth against the Altaria first though, to boost Hidden Power's damage. I'll only need +1. After all, the AI doesn't use potions unless their Pokemon is under a certain threshold of health. I think that with only +1 special attack, I'll avoid Winona using a potion, and that way I'll be able to knock it out in 2 turns. And then, Skarmory immediately gets a critical hit with Aerial Ace and takes Shiftry all the way down to 12 hit points. Alright, at least I have a Citrus Berry, but I don't think it's going to help if she attacks again. And then, as predicted, she doesn't use a potion, and my second Hidden Power finishes her last Pokemon. Alright, I'm really glad I picked Hidden Power Ice, it was very useful here. I head south admiring the cute little puddles and awesome clouds while I collect a rare candy. Then I grab some Person Berries. These are going to be extremely useful. South of Mount Pyre, I pick up the hidden rare candy, collect some Citrus Berries, and then I finally get my next Grass-type move, Giga Drain. On the top of Mount Pyre, Archie pulls out, and then I head inside to collect Shadow Ball. Now, prepare yourself for the pain. I mean, seriously, this next section is so brutal. So watch me as I go. I'm doing my best to fight these trainers one at a time so there's no double battles. I'm also really trying to dodge the spinners when I can. Unfortunately, this one catches me. Oh, well, looks like she's a psychic. I'm sure I can one-hit whatever she has with return. Oh no, it's a Wobbuffet. Okay, so if you don't know, this Pokemon is extremely unique and extremely weird and extremely awful to face. It can learn 4 different moves and it gets all of them at level 1. The moves are Counter, Mirror Coat, Safeguard, and Destiny Bond. Obviously, Destiny Bond is a really fast way to lose a fight. Also, incorrectly predicting Counter or Mirror Coat is not going to end well. So essentially, I'm just gambling here. I decide to go for some growths while I contemplate my life. After all, I'd really like to knock it out in 1 hit when I finally attack, but then, on the turn I choose to attack, it uses Destiny Bond and that's it. Okay, so I've got to face it again. I really want Shadow Ball for Phoebe, so that's why I'm trying to get up to the top of this place. This time, I successfully hit return and knock the Wobbuffet out in a single hit. Okay, good. Nearing the top of the tower, there are more annoying spinning trainers. These 2 are especially annoying because I have to dodge them like 4 times to get by without a battle. The worst thing is though, on 4 times speed, the second guy is really hard to dodge. Like, I have to aim really well and turn to go down the stairs, but as I try to sneak by, he catches me and... oh look, he also has a Wobbuffet. So, I didn't save after the last one. Unfortunately, I was not paying close enough attention here, and it gets me with Destiny Bond. I get stuck in a double battle against the first Wobbuffet again, but luckily I managed to defeat it. I fail to dodge the spinning trainer at the top again, and so now I'm facing a Wobbuffet for the 4th time. Like, are you serious? However, I am able to finally take it out and earn the TM for Shadow Ball. So that was quite a long excursion just for 1 TM. I really hope that it's going to help me out during the league. By the way, I am reading all your comments, and you always ask, like, why didn't you use Rain Dance with Ludicolo when you went out of your way to get it? Honestly, the answer is usually just, I forgot. But with Ludicolo, I actually ended up wanting to use different moves every turn, so I didn't think it was the best. Yeah, I probably discounted the effectiveness of Rain Dish a little bit too much, but oh well. I'm sure I'll do other playthroughs with these 2 Pokemon later to optimize. Getting back on track, at the end of the Magma Hideout, I have to face Maxie. Mightyena gets me with Intimidate, and then it gets me with Scary Face, dropping my speed. I really don't think that the setup from Growth was worth it. I am probably keeping this move too long anyways. That's definitely a habit that I formed in Generation 1. In those games, it's almost always a mistake to get rid of a move that can trigger the badge boost. In this case though, having my speed lowered could be a death sentence because Maxie's second Pokemon is Crobat. It goes for Air Cutter, which doesn't do enough to take me out, and then I take it down. Last is Camerupt, and I'm really lucky that this thing is slow, so Shiftry goes first and takes it down. Luckily I got through that one, and it really was luck because I got a critical hit against the Crobat. It was really clutch. It's time now for Gym Leader Matt. I mean Team Aqua Admin Matt. That really doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well as Gym Leader Matt. Actually, check out his channel if you want more Pokemon Challenge content. This guy, though, has another annoying Mightyena. I really need to start bringing Person Berries into these fights in case they use Swagger. Today it gets me. I managed to take the Mightyena out, but then I hit myself against the Golbat. Shiftry survives, though, and gets 1 more attack in on the next turn, so bye-bye Matt. With that portion of the plot out of the way, I now have to defeat the most challenging gym leaders in the game. It's time for Tate and Liza. I send out Shiftry and Magikarp. Now it's time to get splashing. First, I go for Return on Xatu, hoping that it'll knock it out in a single hit and prevent it from setting up Calm Mind. I do enough damage and it goes down. Then Claydol hits Earthquake, so that's it for our trusty friend Magikarp, but the ground type move does very little to Shiftry. Despite looking like the sun, being reddish orange, and having protrusions that look like fire, Solrock is a rock psychic type, so Giga Drain's super effective and it does so much, but not quite enough to get the knockout. Claydol hits another Earthquake, and then Solrock sets up Sunny Day. Here's a case where Chlorophyll would have doubled my speed, but that wouldn't help anyways because I'm moving first against all their Pokemon. I make a mistake and I misclick using Giga Drain on Claydol instead of finishing the Solrock off. This is because in Generation 3 double battles, it resets the Pokemon you're targeting at the beginning of every turn. It's always reset to the right-hand Pokemon. So yeah, I assumed that it was going to be targeting the same Pokemon I attacked last, and as a result I made a misclick. This lets Solrock use Flamethrower, which is boosted by the sun, and I assumed this was going to do so much to Shiftry, but it really didn't. I finished the Pokemon that should have been a fire type off, and then I take some damage from Earthquake. I hit Lunatone with Giga Drain to heal. Having recovery during this fight is really clutch, and I actually think it's the reason that Shiftry is going to be able to defeat them on its first attempt. With their badge, I get a 10% boost to my special attack and special defense, and that completes all of the Hoenn badge boosts. Next, I head over to the Space Center where I have to battle alongside Steven against Maxie and Tabitha. Normally, I don't think very much about this fight. I kind of zone out after the Tate and Liza fight, but it gets a bit scary here today. The reason is that Shiftry's moves don't give it particularly good damage against any of these Pokemon. Plus, most of them have super effective damage against me. Once again, Giga Drain is very helpful here because it gives recovery, and with it, I'm able to just squeeze a victory out. Archie's the next major battle, and finally, I remember the Person Berry for this battle. It even pays off because Mightyena uses Swagger, and I get a free boost, allowing me to sweep with ease. I set the green noodle with arms free, watch a cool cinematic, and then I talk to two old evil dudes who see the errors in their ways. Now, it's time to fight a LEGO character. Love Disc is first. I have a Person Berry just to avoid confusion from its sweet kiss. Before it confuses me, I'll take time to set up Growth. I wasn't sure how many of these I'd get in, because Water Pulse can also confuse. I actually managed to get +5 special attack before Love Disc confuses with Sweet Kiss. My berry heals it, and now it's time to start my sweep. Giga Drain takes Love Disc out, followed by Celio, and then Juan sends in Kingdra. If one of his Pokemon is going to survive, it's going to be this one. But Giga Drain knocks it out, and because of that, I know I'm going to win. I bet Juan is terrifying if you're doing a Nuzlocke, but in a solo challenge, he sort of feels like Price or Bruno. Yeah, he's quite bad. Why did they give a gym leader Love Disc? It feels like they wanted him to be bad. Before the league, I have to battle Wally, and as many of you will know, I was a musician before I became a Poketuber, and you also probably know that Wally has an awesome theme in the remake, it slaps. It's unfortunate that in Generation 3, he wasn't given his own unique music. I've actually been thinking that it would be really fun to go back and arrange the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire theme for him and put it into the Generation 3 synths. Maybe one day. Before the league, I do some moveset management and I teach Shiftry Aerial Ace in the place of Return. After that, I teach it Brick Break, and now I'm ready to go. Another trainer in Hoenn that starts off with a Mightyena, just great. Intimidate's really good, it lowers my attack, and Brick Break only does half. Then, Sydney lowers my accuracy with Sand Attack. The typical first two turns here. The lowered accuracy is the entire reason that I brought Aerial Ace into this fight because it bypasses accuracy checks. Also because it's super effective against his Shiftry, which specifically loves to use Double Team. As a result, I am able to sweep through his entire team and take the victory. Next is Phoebe, and I went through so much pain against the Wobbuffet trying to obtain Shadow Ball. I am really hoping that it's going to pay off now. Please give me a quick victory. Remember that I said that, by the way? A quick victory against Phoebe would be nice. Quick, specifically. Oh great, well, I unfortunately started this fight without healing. Dusclops uses Protect and then Confuse Ray, but I still managed to hit it and knock it out. Unfortunately, it got a curse in before it went down, so this fight's over. In the next fight, I hit with Shadow Ball, take Dusclops to red, and then it uses Curse right away. Okay, so that's another loss. I remember to heal, I give Shiftry a Citrus Berry, because this will give me one more turn if I get cursed. However, in the next fight, when I get to test this out, I realize that it isn't going to help, because our following Pokemon are also doing damage. That means the Citrus Berry isn't actually buying me one more turn. So I'm really not sure how I'm going to make it past her. If I can't one-hit the first Dusclops and prevent it from using Curse, then there's no consistent way here. Let's try one more time, and if it doesn't work, then I might have to use some rare candies, even though it does feel a little bit premature. This time, instead of using Shadow Ball, which would take Dusclops to red, I go for Dig first turn, which instead takes it to orange. I luck out because then it uses Protect on the turn that I'm above ground, and my Shadow Ball knocks it out. Alright, so I successfully avoided Curse. She sends in her Ace Dusclops. My next Shadow Ball takes it to orange. It hits with a big Ice Beam. We both heal with Citrus Berries, and then I knock it out with Shadow Ball. Alright, I'm pretty sure that I can do this now. Banette is a one-hit. Surprisingly, Sableye is also a one-hit. Okay, that's because it was a critical hit. And then her final Banette goes down. Alright, so that was a bit lucky, but I do think there's a bit of play with Dig. Like, I could have used Shadow Ball first turn and then Dig second turn to avoid Curse. Anyways, I was able to win. The next Elite Four member is Glacia. She leads with Celio, and I go for Brick Break, but it survives on red, and she heals with a full restore. Okay, that's not the worst thing ever. I'd rather her use the full restore here than on the wall rain. The annoying thing is, the longer the fight takes, the more the hail damage stacks up against Shiftry. But all of that doesn't matter because the second Celio uses Blizzard, which does so much, taking Shiftry down to 7 hit points. I do manage to get to the wall rain, but it survives of course and knocks me out. So let's use the strategy that I used against Phoebe against Glacia. This way, Shiftry takes less damage from the hail. I want to knock the Celio out now, so I use Giga Drain instead, healing Shiftry fully. I repeat this strategy on the next Celio and knock it out as well. Now it's time for her Ace. Dig does very little. I get hit by an Ice Beam taking Shiftry to red, my Citrus Berry heals, and then I cross my fingers with Giga Drain. It doesn't do enough though, so that's it. One of the reasons I'm sitting on 10 rare candies and not using them is because Steven is incredibly powerful. I want to save them for him. Since Pokemon take more experience to gain levels when they're at a higher level, waiting to use rare candies means that I'll actually be a higher level for Steven when I get there. After all, fighting him with a grass type wasn't fun the last time I did it. I needed level 91 to beat him with Sceptile. However, at level 57, Shiftry is just under the damage rounding threshold, so maybe level 58 will give better results against Glacia. I was really hoping this might give me 1 hits against the Celio, but it doesn't. I do manage to knock the Wall Rain out, but I have so little health for the following Glalie that this is going to be over. I use my last Giga Drain to try to heal, but it's just going to KO me with an Ice move. Unless it uses Shadow Ball, so that did so little. I get a second attack in and Brick Break takes down the second Glalie, and that's it! Glacia's defeated! So here's what happened there. Her AI saw that Shiftry was on 2 hit points, and it knew that any move that it had that dealt damage would get the KO. So it just went for a random selection from the available moves. It chose Shadow Ball, and then after Giga Drain healed, it failed to get the knockout. Drake's next, and he's the entire reason that I chose to take Hidden Power Ice with me for this challenge. He starts with Shelgon, I waste a turn because of Protect, and then I strike with Hidden Power Ice. It doesn't quite do enough. Still, Shelgon's bad, so I manage to knock it out over the next 2 turns. Flygon follows, Shiftry outspeeds, and takes care of it with Hidden Power Ice. Altaria also takes 4 times damage from ice moves, so I was really surprised when it survived my hit. It goes for Dragon Dance, boosting its attack and speed, which allows it to move first on the next turn and strike with Aerial Ace, which does half. I take it down and then Salamence hits the field. But it isn't faster and Hidden Power gets the KO. So now it's time for the Kingdra. I tried Hidden Power Ice, but it only does a quarter. I'm out of Giga Drain PP, so that isn't an option, and that means that this fight's over. I went into the next fight and then realized that I forgot to replenish my PP, so I decided to reset right away, avoiding more wasted time. Now, with Giga Drain replenished, I'm able to take the Kingdra out, and so all that's left in the league is Wallace. Wailord's first. I go for Giga Drain, hoping to one-hit, but Shiftry doesn't quite get it. He sets up with Rain Dance, and then uses a full restore before my next Giga Drain. A problem with him using full restores in this fight is that it means that I have to use Giga Drain more times. Even after a PP max, it only has 8 PP. Making matters worse are my damage ranges against the Milotic. It looks like I'm doing 2/5 to it, so it's going to take 3 hits to knock it out. After landing 1 hit and then landing Toxic, Wallace starts to prioritize Recover to stall me out, which is really annoying. The only way I could win here is with a critical hit, and I don't get one. I try again, but essentially the fight's no different. Even if I manage to knock the Milotic out, the following Tentacruel has Sludge Bomb, and with my defenses, I don't want to be hit by that. So I need to adjust my strategy a bit. Against these water types, Hidden Power Ice is not particularly useful, so I use my second return TM and replace it. This is going to do better damage at least to the Tentacruel, and hopefully the Milotic, but it still looks like it's a 3-hit, so he's able to stall me out with Toxic and Recover again. Maybe if I boost Return's power with a Silk Scarf? By the way, I'm using Dig first turn here against the Milotic to mess with the AI. I'm pretty sure first turn it's always going to use Toxic if I'm not poisoned, and then I'm going to try something else on the second turn. However, in this case it uses Toxic and I still get poisoned. So it looks like it isn't using Toxic just first turn, it looks like it's spamming it over and over and over. While I do knock the Milotic out, Tentacruel's next. Return is doing more than half, but it hits a massive Sludge Bomb, and as a result, Poison finishes me off on the next turn. I tried again and lost, so I think this is a damage range problem. I've held off on using all but one rare candy until now, but I think I need them to proceed. By using 3, I can ensure that I'm over the next damage rounding threshold, and hopefully I'll do better damage against his team members. Still, Milotic is a 3-hit though, and Tentacruel is doing too much damage. So what other moves could I potentially use? Well, on regular terrain, Secret Power has a 30% chance to paralyze the opponent. So maybe it'll be useful to get a clutch status on either the Milotic or the Tentacruel. While helping edit this script, Leary let me know that Milotic in fact has Marvel Scale, so inflicting a status on it really isn't a good idea because then its defense gets boosted by 50%. If I'm using Return as my go-to move, that's obviously going to be very bad. However, in this case, I don't need a lucky status because instead I get a lucky critical hit and Milotic goes down. Since I used Giga Drain there, Shiftry heals a lot before the Tentacruel comes out. Alright, this looks like the perfect turn of events. I go for a turn, and Tentacruel misses Toxic. My luck just keeps continuing, so I knock it out for free. It's time for the version-exclusive showdown between Shiftry and Ludicolo. It uses Surf though, like good job Ludicolo. I knock it out, and the following Whiscash is easy to manage. And then it's time for Gyarados. I know Milotic is technically Wallace's ace, but the Gyarados really feels like his ace in this game. When it hits the field, it triggers Intimidate, cutting Shiftry's attack, but my best option is unfortunately still Return. It does a third, Gyarados uses Dragon Dance, and then it's outspeeding. I was really hoping that my third Return would knock it out, but it just doesn't quite. Wallace heals it, and that's it. I can't believe I lost that fight, especially after the clutch crit against the Milotic, and then the lucky miss from Tentacruel. How do I beat him if I even lose in that situation? Well, I decided to use 5 rare candies, taking Shiftry all the way up to level 65, pushing it over the next damage rounding threshold. Maybe this'll be enough? Well, there's actually another approach here. If I use a combination of Dig and Rest against Milotic, I can stall it out until it uses up all of its PP for Ice Beam. After that, it's going to start using Surf, which is going to do much less damage. Rest lets me fully negate Toxic, and if I'm stalling it, Recover is irrelevant. This takes time, but it ends up working. Tentacruel's next, I go for Return and it does massive damage, taking it into red. Then it hits Sludge Bomb, which unfortunately poisons me. I'm not quite able to take it out with Return before the poison damage accumulates to the point where I have to use Rest. Now, if it crits, I lose, but I think I'll be able to survive 2 Sludge Bombs. I do, and I take it down with Return. That was so close. Up next is the double teaming Ludicolo. I'm able to use Rest here and it just uses Surf and double team and then I knock it out when I finally attack. Whiscash is next. I take it out with Giga Drain, so I've made it back to the Gyarados. Okay, let's go. I can do this. Instead of using Return, I decide to use Giga Drain twice and then I use Return, which now that I'm over the damage rounding threshold, does more damage and knocks the Gyarados out, preventing a full restore. Shiftry did it in 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 38 seconds, with 21 resets at level 66. All of this took 7 hours and 4 minutes of game time. But that's not the end, because we still have to defeat Steven Stone. Before I face him, I collect some useful items. I grab the TM for Sunny Day, a rare candy in the Safari Zone, and then the TM for Solar Beam, which is also in the Safari Zone. I teach them to Shiftry, and now I'm ready to face him for the first time. His lead is Skarmory. I guess I'm 11 levels lower than it, and as a result, my Solar Beam does pathetic amounts of damage. Yeah, 1/4 damage can't work here. I use my remaining rare candies and come back at level 70 with Hidden Power Ice. Okay, that was also uninspiring damage. Like, for those of you that are just audio listeners, Hidden Power did roughly 2 times the damage that Solar Beam did. It doesn't even look like it's doing a full quarter. I don't think it makes sense to try this fight anymore at this level, so I head to Victory Road to try to defeat Wally for some fast experience. Whenever I'm doing this training, I want to ensure that I'm leveling up to a level that's just over the next damage rounding threshold, otherwise it would be just a waste of time. I really do try to do everything in my power to get the fastest possible time with each Pokemon. Because of how little damage I was doing at level 70, I level up so that my rare candies take Shiftry to level 78, and then I try Steven again. Now that I'm one level higher than Skarmory, when Shiftry's hidden power gets a lucky critical hit, it does just over half. Okay. Shiftry heals with leftovers. Yes, I did go and grab these this time. And then my next hidden power fails to KO the Skarmory, of course, because it doesn't crit. But instead, the Skarmory crits, and that knocks Shiftry out. By the way, some of you have been mentioning in the comments that I should rebattle gym leaders for extra experience when I'm trying to level up for Steven. When I was in my match call, I realized that they call Norman the reliable one. Interesting, because he has a slacking, and he spends all his time at the gym instead of raising his family. Oh, I also didn't know that this rebattle is a double battle. Are they all double battles? It's kind of cool that he has 2 slacking in this fight. I'm able to win either way, and with that, I head back to Victory Road to continue my training. At level 80, I attempt Steven again, and this time, hidden power is just barely not getting the 3 hit. I try again, and I see if it's possible with better rolls, but it doesn't look like it. So because of how you view these videos and how I write the scripts, you don't get an accurate sense for how time passes. It was more than half an hour ago that Shiftry defeated the league, and now it's getting walled by Steven. Remember how easy the early portions of the game were for it? Well, it's really not doing well in the late game. One thing I'm noticing about Pokemon Emerald is that because Steven is a Steel Rock specialist, Pokemon that are physical attackers tend to struggle against him. Also, Pokemon with lower defense stats tend to struggle here as well. To have success, you really want to be a special attacker that has good defense. Unfortunately for Shiftry, it is neither of these things. In an effort to gain experience faster training against wild Pokemon in Victory Road, I decided to face the Elite Four again. After all, as a kid, this is how I did all my training because I needed those super valuable Pokédollars. I really wanted to have like 10 stacks of 99 Ultra Balls. And now, I'm going to bring you back to what I said about Phoebe. Remember when I said I wanted this to be a quick fight? Well, yeah. This time, I don't have Shadow Ball. As a result, her PP stalling tactics work against me, and I run out of moves when I'm facing the Sableye. Because I'm overleveled, I didn't save in front of her, so yeah, I don't want to reset here. Losing all the time and experience from fighting Sydney would be pretty bad. Instead, I hunker down, and I use rest until I run out of PP, and then I knock the Sableye out with struggle. This took forever, since it sets up so many double teams. I honestly thought that it might not be possible to knock it out even with struggle, but I do manage it. Yeah, this was not a quick fight. I'm able to get through the rest of the league members after that, and quite frankly, I don't know if this was faster than just leveling in Victory Road, so I head back over there. Now, after rare candies, Shiftry is level 85. Please let this be enough. I really want to be able to defeat Steven before 3 hours. I go for hidden power against Skarmory, and now it looks like it's going to be a comfortable 3-hit. It does manage to poison me, but that's not an issue because I can just heal later in the fight with rest. So here, for the first time, I knock it out and move on to Armaldo. This bug, flying type, could be a bug flying type, like it looks kind of like an airplane or something. Anyways, I go for Giga Drain, it does about a third, and then I remember that this thing has Aerial Ace as well, because of course it's a flying type. Because I was hit by Toxic from Skarmory, which is a steel type, I'll remind you. It's so weird, some of the moves he has. Anyways, I have to heal with rest, and that means that Armaldo can knock me out with Aerial Ace. I try again, and it looks like the Skarmory has now been solved, but the Armaldo that follows once again takes me down. So what can I do against it? In Mauville City, I can chat with this guy, who coincidentally is quite round, and then I can learn the move Rollout in the place of Return. I try it out against Skarmory, and while it's doing decent damage, being locked into a move and not knowing when it's going to hit and build power feels too gambly for me. But then it hit me. What I really need here is a better special attack stat. So I head over to that place up north and give this guy a heart scale so that Shiftry can relearn growth. I go for 2 turns of setup against Steven, and then hidden power does 3/4 to the Skarmory. With leftovers, I'm hoping that I'm healing enough that it won't be able to 3-hit with Aerial Ace. Even when Steven uses a full restore, I'm able to knock the Skarmory out and move on to Armaldo now. Oh, and then it just crits with Aerial Ace. Just great. Let's try that again because he's not going to get another critical hit. Instead of using hidden power against Armaldo, I go for Giga Drain to heal a little bit more. I have to after all, because I'm poisoned. I don't have the time to use another attacking move, so I heal with rest, and luckily for me, Steven uses slash on one of the turns instead of another aerial ace. Shiftry wakes up, and it's able to knock the Armaldo out for the first time. Okay, this is good. Claydol's next. I go for Giga Drain, and it gets the one hit, almost fully healing Shiftry in the process. Now it's time for the aggro. I'm not sure how his remaining Pokemon will be, so I decide to play conservatively here and set up growth. After all, boosting Shiftry's offensive abilities just seems safe. At +6, my strange tree thing has 884 special, so this should be enough. I go for Giga Drain, and I get a critical hit, knocking Aggron out in one shot. Cradley's next, and Hidden Power finishes it off. Finally, it's time for Metagross. I use Giga Drain, and it doesn't get the KO. Steven strikes back with Meteor Mash, doing half to Shiftry, and then I finish it the next turn. So that's it. I didn't manage to squeeze in under the 3-hour mark. Shiftry clocks in with a time of 3 hours, 6 minutes, and 22 seconds. I had 30 resets with it, and it finished the game at level 85. All of this took 10 hours and 15 minutes of game time. When compared with the results of my other Pokemon Emerald playthroughs, Shiftry finished just behind Ludicolo and just ahead of Swampert. It needed a much higher level and more game time than both, despite being played after. So I did this video in the hopes that throughout the playthrough, I would gain a new appreciation for this freaky Pokemon. So did it win me over? Well, honestly, it sort of did. I'm not sure how to say it, but like the strange white hair stuff that I kept staring at in its back sprite just convinced me to like it. After all, I tend to like strange things, all of these Pokemon included. Unfortunately, it didn't perform very well though, especially against Steven, and I think if I did this playthrough again, I'd really want to take Hidden Power Fire with me just to be able to defeat him, hopefully a little bit more easily. Over-leveling earlier on to defeat Drake and Wallace seems like it would take less time than having to grind for Steven. Like, subscribe, ring the chime echo, and comment because I gotta read them all. Thanks to my patrons for their support. If you've made it this far, you're incredible. Now, it's bloopers time. It's frustrating that it's mostly a physical tapper, yes, that. A tapper, yeah. Great, there's a motorbike. So loud. Stop it, people. Don't have fun. Stay inside. Play Pokemon. Actually, this is more fun. Let's be real. Going on a motorbike's not fun. Playing Pokemon Yellow 300 times is fun. I chat with the president, defeat Brendan in an easy battle, and then I chop down a tree and grab the Miracle Seed. Yeah, exactly. That. Oh, come on. I chat with the president, not grab Brendan, defeat Brendan. However, I am able to finally take it out and earn myself the TM for Shadow Ball. Ugh, come on. Giga Drain takes Love Disc out, followed by Celio, and then Watson sends in Kingdra. Watson does not have a Kingdra. This is Juan, not Watson. That way, Shiftry takes less damage from Hail. I want to knock the Celio out. I was like Red Celio, and I'm like, no, it's definitely Celo. I want to knock the Celo out. Celo, I said it. Now it's time for the Aggron. And I'm not sure how his remaining Pokemon will be, so I decide to play conservatively here and set up growth to boost Shiftry. Yeah, great. Thanks, Sean Connery. I use Giga Drain, and it doesn't get the KO. Steven strikes back with Meteor Rash, yes. Yeah. In this fight, I managed to walk the Walrein out, yes. Really just walk that thing out. I don't think Walrein can walk. It's like, it like waddles or something, or like, I don't know, what do seals do? Like, what's the form of locomotion that they use? They slide on things sometimes, and they swim. But like on land, it's definitely not walking. I would not describe it as a walk. It's not slithering either. They're not a snake. Let's get back to the script. I gotta look this up now. I can't let it go. Seals, Google. Oh, sorry, I spelled seal with 2 E's. Wait, is that how it's spelled? No, it's not how it's spelled. Seal locomotion on land. Yeah, what is this called? By caterpillar-like hitching movements. It says that it walks. That's not true. Okay, I'm so distracted. I gotta get back to the script. I'm just like reading about seals. Not the Pokemon, the cute animals.